Well, hey, you, and welcome back to another episode of the Western Hippie podcast. I'm your host, Michaela. It's just Willie and me today, and we are testing out a new spot. One of my goals in the next 2 weeks is to start incorporating video back on the podcast. And so I'm testing different spots with different backgrounds to see what I like better. The place that I'm recording today does have hardwood floors instead of carpet. And if you didn't know this, sound echoes off of hard surfaces more than it does soft surfaces, such as a couch or carpet or things like that. So we're testing it. We're going to see how it goes. I think the first few months of the year feels like it's very much going to be an experimentation. And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about something I heard at a personal development conference. This was either late 2019 or early 2020. And it was from Brennan Burchard. If you don't know who Brennan Burchard is, he is a very successful author, businessman, entrepreneur, coach, life coach. And one of the things he said that really helped me, because especially in my younger years, I very much had the mentality of if you can't do it at 150%, don't do it at all. And as I've gotten older, I realized that it's actually very counterproductive to not do something at all. It's better to do something half-assed than no ass at all. And I very much was of the mentality again, I either do it full ass or no ass, And I'm like, okay, there is a time and a place for half-assing, and it is just to get the reps in. And so one of the things that he said that really helped me kind of shift this mindset was the original definition of perfect, as in being a perfectionist or trying to get something perfect, was to make better. And in order to make something better, you have to have something to make better. So if we're going with the example of baking cupcakes, because cupcakes sound amazing, it is in order to perfect your cupcake, you have to have a cupcake to perfect in the first place. So if you have no cupcake, then you have nothing to perfect. So the only way to actually be a quote unquote perfectionist is to get something done to start perfecting it. And that's really been helpful for me in the last couple years, is just get it out there and continue to try and make it better, because that is way more productive as a perfectionist than to not have anything at all. And, especially for me, having a background in film and knowing how to get good sound and different things like that, it's hard for me to know that, okay, there's certain things that the sound's not going to be great. And it is just, getting the reps in and trying different things. And so that's kind of my first thing of 2021 or 2021. Oh my gosh. Of 2025. That doesn't tell you where I'm at mentally. Anybody else there? Is anybody else there? Because I feel like I'm not alone in that. Somehow there's no way it's been 5 years since 2020, right? Oh my gosh, that sounds awful. Okay, anyway, continuing on. That's like my first intention of 2025, is to really just keep going and just keep doing it, because all the successful people I've met in the last few years, they really just fail quicker and get back up quicker. And so anyway, yeah, that was just one of the things that I was thinking about. And, I encourage you to do the same of, how can you just, to get more reps in, how can you just keep failing? And I don't know about you, but even as I say that, there's a little piece of my heart that's like, no. And it's, again, perfection doesn't exist. To perfect originally meant to make better. And so in order to make whatever we're working on, for me, the podcast, going into YouTube and a video cast soon, some stuff with my business, like, it's just about getting the reps in. And so I encourage you to adopt that mindset as well. If you need that little permission slip, there it is. And I actually would love to just start diving into the topic, because as I was before the episode, I was just kind of sitting with, what question do I want to explore today? And what do I feel like we all need help with? And the question that popped into my mind was, do we ever stop healing? And for me, I was really heavy into personal development from 2017 to 2020, or to 2020. 2020. Yeah, it would be. Why did that sound weird? Apparently I got some beef with 2020 and 2021 that I keep coming back to. But, I was really deep into that space, the personal development space. And then from, I would say, because for me, from 2020 to 2021, really wasn't in to it at all. I was actually really into politics. So kind of went from personal development to politics, then from politics to more of a healing space. I feel like we all got super political from 2020 to 2021. And then I went more into the healing space. And I had this epiphany in 2022. And that's really where I've been from 2022 to 2020 through 2024, still doing a lot of different healing modalities and really now training my skills. However, one of the things that I learned halfway through 2022 was we're supposed to heal to live, not live to heal. And there's a lot of us that once we start on the healing journey or the personal development journey, whatever you want to call, whatever you personally call that for yourself, it turns into a full-time job. It turns into something else we have to do. But the whole point of healing in the first place is to learn how to be again. It's to remember that we are human beings and not human doings. And we've turned healing into another thing for our human doing. We so often don't actually get to the root cause of the problem. We just trade it. So, like, if we'll just use the example of addiction because it's simple. Like, if you don't actually heal the addiction, you'll just trade addictions. So someone will go through AA, for example, and then they quit drinking, but now they smoke like a chain smoker, or they quit drinking and now they live and breathe the church. Like, the church is still a form of addiction because they actually haven't healed the addiction. It's just a different addiction that more people, quote unquote, approve of. But the problem is still there. And I see that so much in the healing space is, maybe we used to go out to bars or do like something, and now we've just traded that for healing, but it hasn't actually solved the problem. So unless we've gotten to a space where like our nervous system is regulated and we can be comfortable just being a human being and not a human doing, we haven't actually solved the issue. And so that was the first thing before I actually dive into the question that I wanted to talk about is the whole point of this healing journey was for us to learn to live better, not to live to heal. And that's just the first thing that I want to say is the most important thing is for us to be a spiritual being having a human experience. And so in that, there is a balance of both. We're supposed to be half human, half spiritual being, and we're supposed to have that human experience. And so if we start spending all of our time meditating or all of our time, if your spiritual gifts have come back on, like all your time channeling, or if you're so ungrounded that you lose half the day, like that is not the point. And I'm always going to default to it is better that you live your human life and not have your spiritual gifts on, and we'll get like to live the best human life. It is through your spiritual gifts. However, the first priority is to master the human and then use the spiritual gifts to, make that better and to amplify it. So when it comes to this healing conversation, and the reason I'm prefacing this is because I'm going to answer the question, is because we have to remember that at some point, this is what different seasons of life are for, right? Like in winter, we're meant to slow down more, right? We're meant to do less. Where in the summertime, literally the days are longer. We're meant to do more, sleep a little bit less. So different seasons have different purposes. And saying that, there's going to be certain seasons where healing comes before anything, right? I just want you to be mindful of when you get to the next season, when it's time to be more social, to be more human, and less important to, journal for an hour or meditate for 2 or whatever your practice is. Just be mindful of when it's time to really dive deep on the healing and when it's time to really dive deep on the human, because again, they're going to be different seasons. They're going to trade off. And just remember to be a human and have a human experience more so than using healing as another job or another form of escapism. So prefacing, I don't even know if I said that word right. But with all of that, the reason I wanted to start with that is because my answer to do we ever stop healing? The answer is no. And so why I wanted to set the stage on that first is because it is important we don't turn this into a full-time job, even with the awareness that this never ends. Because I think it's tempting. And I think that's another, if I sit with it, that's another form of a lack mindset of if I just go all in on this, then I'll be completely healed and then I can start living my life. When in reality, it's an integration. It is going to get the tools. So like for me, I'm working through a few things right now. And like I said, from really 2022 to now, I've been building my toolkit. And so now, again, to heal, to live. Now, when I feel myself get triggered by something or I feel my body get dysregulated by something, now instead of letting it take me out, I have the tools to work through that in real time. So I'm not purposely seeking the triggers out. Like I had a season where I was purposely seeking them out. So I'm not purposely seeking them out anymore, but now I have the tools to deal with it in real time. And that's the point of healing because no, this is never going to end. And when we have like, we'll have a layer of something. And, you know, to me, it's like a video game almost. It's levels. We'll go with levels instead of layers. You master that level. Okay, cool. And then you go to the next level and there's another level of it. And then there's another level of it. And that's not to discourage anybody. That's just to know if you keep revisiting the same things over and over again, it's not because you're wrong. It's not because you're making a mistake. It's because there's just different levels to these things. And that's why it is a never ending journey, is because we're always going to the new levels of something. So one of the big things that I'm here to work on in this lifetime is self-worth. And so in that, okay, I've mastered this level of self-worth. Okay, bam. Now we're going to go to the next level and then the next level. And there's just different practices too. You know, I may have mastered self-worth in career, let's say, but have I mastered it in relationships? Because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So how is this affecting different areas of my life? Because what we're really tempted to do sometimes is like, let's say we've mastered we're just going to keep using the self-worth thing. Let's say we've mastered self-worth in career, but we have not in relationships. As humans, what is our temptation? It's to go harder into work and avoid the relationship, where our spiritual selves, our soul selves are going to ask us, no, master this in every area of life. And then, you know, we get to go to these other levels. And so actually, I want to transition into let's bring awareness to that. What is something you feel like you have been learning in 2024 that you feel like you have got it? You know, this was a really hard lesson for me, but I really actually feel like I've mastered it this year. So I'm trying to think of what that would be for. Actually, because for me, I don't know that it would be self-worth. Actually, for me to get more specific, it'd be more like prioritizing myself. That's really what I've been learning, which is a form of self-love, making ourselves a priority. And this can be um it, down to the simplest things to the most like larger scale things. So this could be this is a very simple example, but I make sure I have the products that make me feel my best. There's a habit that I was getting into of I don't need it because I want to spend my money elsewhere. But in reality, like I have this new, I'll link it below because if you're looking for a good oil-based cleanser, this stuff is amazing. I saw it on TikTok and I watched so many of this girl's ASMR videos. And finally, I had to get the cream or the oil-based cleanser. It's called the Olympia Cleansing Balm. And I had a skincare thing that I liked. It wasn't that and I was like, well, I'd rather spend my money over here. And I was like, Michaela, what we've been learning is about prioritizing ourselves. So are you going to make yourself a priority? Because specifically, like I said, I had face care that I liked. But one of the things the Olympia is for is like impurities and blackheads. And that's one thing. I've had blackheads since I was I think I got blackheads when I was like 10 and I've just had them ever since. And this is specifically for blackheads. Yeah, she calls it the Olympia cleansing balm, but every time in her videos, she references it for blackheads and like impurities and makeup remover. And anyway, so I finally decided to try it. And that was just one way of me prioritizing myself, was getting a skincare thing that was important to me. I've been using it for a couple weeks. And when I tell you my face is so soft right now, it is amazing because skincare is important to me. But I was acting like it wasn't as important to me because, like I said, I was just making other priorities and I'd been in a pattern of not prioritizing myself, even down to my basic like needs and necessities. So that is a thing that I've really been learning in 2024 is how do I make myself my priority? So I've been practicing that in, I would say, financially. In if I look at the areas of life, I would say financially is the area I've really been working on. Like, how do I spend my money? So shout out to my other dog moms out there. My default, and horse moms, is going to be to spend my money on my babies before I spend money on myself. So like if I need something, but I feel like they need something, and like let's say I've just got 50 extra bucks of spending cash for the month, I'll buy something for my animals over myself. And obviously, like, this is food, everything aside. This is just, I love buying stuff for my animals. I just do. It does bring me joy. However, if I genuinely need something, I was still spending the extra cash on them more than I was myself. And then I'll start talking about this more. But then as I was diving into the new intuition trainings I was taking and learning about self love and the importance of prioritizing ourselves, I really, and also my dog, Willie, being like such a teacher here for me, realizing how me not taking care of myself and how that was affecting my emotional health, and in affecting my emotional health, how it was affecting his emotional health. And so really started to make that switch about 6 months ago of prioritizing myself. And even if it is something, very minute, like buying the cleansing balm over buying like an extra dog toy for the month, or, whatever it is, like that is important. And so I've really been working on that financially, like prioritizing myself financially. Now, where I have to start is my time. That is something that, like, even right now, recording this podcast, I've been meaning to sit down and record it for days. And I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off because I'm not prioritizing myself in my time management, in my passion, in my career. So now, again, the temptation is like, well, I'm mastering it in money, so let's just keep going. However, for me, like, I have some financial goals that I want to hit in the next 30, 60 days. And if I want to hit those goals, like, I have to start prioritizing my time management. And so it is a both and, but again, it's really tempting to just keep going where we're at. We're really, to make balance, we want to make sure we're all at the same level in like all areas of our life before we go to the next level. So that is what I want to encourage you to do right now, is look at something that you've really been working on mastering, learning, and practicing in 2024 that needs to go to another area of your life in 2025. And let's start 2025 out that way. So again, for me, it's prioritizing myself, been working on that financially. Obviously, we'll continue to work on that financially. And also, how can I start doing it more with my time? So even right now, my schedule currently, I was originally going to the barn in the morning, switched to going at night so I could ride with my friend. And then now, for what I'm working on right now, I feel like I'm going to have to switch going back to the barn in the morning for a little bit while I'm starting a new project, like while I'm getting through this project. And so I have a temptation sometimes to feel guilty. It's like, well, I love riding with my friend in the evenings, like brings me so much joy. And I'm so tempted to like, no, I'll figure it out. But like, I need to prioritize what I need. And then I can ride with her on the weekends. It's not like I'm not going to ride with her. It's not like I'm not going to see her, but I need to start like just switching my schedule around and doing other things in the morning versus at night, because the way I'm doing stuff is I have a really hard time being under fluorescent lights, especially at night. And so if I'm out in the barn too late under the fluorescence, it's really been jacking with my sleep. And then, when you don't get to bed properly at night, you're like, to me, I'm always going to prioritize sleep because nobody wants to be around me when I don't get enough sleep, including me. I don't want to be around me when I don't get enough sleep. So I always prioritize my sleep. So regardless of what time I'm getting to bed, I'm getting my 8 hours in, unless there's very certain circumstances. Like this morning, I had something that was really important that I did not get 8 hours of sleep. But I'm always prioritizing that. So then if I'm getting to bed later because I'm staying up late because my melatonin levels are jacked, then I'm now sleeping in later. I'm getting my day started. So again, to make myself a priority, I'm like, okay, for this season, I've got to switch some things around. It gets a lot easier for me as the days get longer. But right now, we're just in the middle of winter. It is what it is. How can I support myself best? So take something you've been practicing, whether it's like self-love, self-worth, prioritizing your eating schedule or your gym schedule, something you've been really practicing in 2024. And if there was something you wanted to practice in 2024 that you were like, man, last year at the beginning of the year, I really said I was going to do this and I didn't do it. Let's just bring it back. Like, it's not about beating yourself up. Like, the fact that you set the intention and it's still sitting in the back of your mind, it's way more progress than that probably was 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, the idea probably wasn't even in your mind at all. So the fact that it is in your mind and it is an intention you want to set, that's what you need to celebrate, not the fact that you haven't done it. That's been a theme. I was talking to somebody the other day that, they wanted to start something in 2021. It's been a couple years and there's such a temptation to beat ourselves up. And I did this as well, because I got the idea to write a book in 2019, didn't release it till 2024, was like beating myself up because word count wise, it was easy for me. Emotional processing wise, that's another story. That was not easy. So, but what I had to realize, like, I was becoming the person who could write the book in that time frame. So we're all just on a journey of becoming. And that's what we have to celebrate. The fact that we're setting the intentions and working on becoming that person. And then now just trust that you're getting the tools, it's coming your way so that we can actually become that person that we set the intention to become, even if it was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago. So many people aren't even setting intentions. So just the fact that you are and that you're here, let's start celebrating our wins. What we focus on compounds and really builds. And that's something my higher self told me, my intuition told me, whatever you want to call that, is there is a difference. And I'll explain that in a different podcast. But if beating yourself, this is exactly how it was said to me. If beating yourself up worked, Michaela, you would be a billionaire. It's like, touche. I would be, because beating ourselves up can only get us so far. Like, let's say the mountain is 100 feet up. Beating yourself up the mountain is only going to get you 20, 30 feet. What's going to get us the rest of the, 80, 70, 60 feet? It's going to be encouragement. It's going to be, that's what's going to make us, more successful is, when we're laying down and we need help up, kicking ourselves doesn't exactly, like, what does it do? It sends us back to the ground, not up off of the ground. And that's really the other thing I've been working on. So if you don't take anything else away from this episode, let it be that, to even just start switching your dialogue around. Well, I set this intention and I'm still not even putting it into practice. Well, you're here now. You're going to put it into practice and celebrate the fact that you even set the intention in the first place. So let's just wrap up with that. Set the intention of, for me, like self-prioritization, set your intention, celebrate the fact that you've set the intention, and then set what category of life you would like to put it in. So time management, health, fitness, work, finances, home, whatever category of life you want to put it in, and then one action step. So for me, it is going to be getting one thing done first thing in the morning that means something to me before I do anything else. I still have a couple part-time jobs, and I work from home. So it's tempting for me to just like want to get up and get that out of the way, when in reality, the most important thing for me to do is get up and get something that's important for me done, because I just feel so much more productive knowing the stuff that's important to, and I think that's part of my insomnia as well, is I'm not getting things done that are important to me first. And so then at night when I get tired, I just will be done working. It's like, well, I can do that tomorrow. But then I'm laying awake because it bothers me. It bothers me that I didn't get the things done that are actually going to get me a step closer to my goals. So what's my action step? It is going to be doing one thing first thing in the morning that actually matters to me and that's going to move the needle on my goals. So whether it's recording content, recording the podcast, making slides for my YouTube video, whatever I feel I need to get done. So that's my action step. So intention, celebration, action step. And honestly, that is all I have for today. Thank you for being here on another episode of the Western Hippie podcast. Willie and I appreciate you. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing and leaving a review, because those are really helpful for me to know just what content to continue making. And yeah, I'm just really thankful for you. Happy 2025. Here we go.